Yeah, Hannes, welcome. I would like the people who are watching to get to know you and your work a little bit better. So I prepared some questions for you today. So for the people who have never heard or came across your work, you are an integral mystic, a psychologist, and your work integrates timeless wisdom, universal love, and psychology in a contemporary way. You are the founder of the Nondual Temple and the Institute for Psychology and Non-Dual Consciousness Studies. Hannes, you were 16 years old when you left Germany to go to America for a year of school exchange. Arriving there was a shocking experience, as you ended up in an area with violence, crime, and poverty, which was the opposite of your safe and peaceful family home. In this year, out of nowhere, you had a spiritual awakening. Later, with 18, you had an even more profound and powerful enlightenment. And even though you are coming from a Christian family background, you have never been in touch with a spiritual practice, a tradition, or a master before. How did that feel back then? And take us back to this experience and tell us how this shaped your further life.
Yeah, thank you very much for this beautiful introduction. Yes, it was a really mind-blowing experience back then. It almost feels like a previous lifetime now when I go back to that time. And yeah, since I only heard of Jesus as the only saint back then, I could only, explain what I experienced in his words. And after I was in the States for about 1 month, I experienced what Christian mystic are calling the dark night of the soul. I fell in a kind of really despair and hopeless kind of nightmare. But in that darkness and hopelessness, I experienced for the first time our true nature in an amazing, profound, limitless way. I was sitting on my bed. I actually became sick for a few days, and I was left alone in this kind of ghetto I ended up. And so at this evening, for some reasons, I could then experience the grace and bliss of our true nature, and I could even see the stars and the whole universe through the whole wall, through the whole house I was in. And I felt this total oneness and unity with everything, and felt completely home and in peace and guided by divine grace, I got a book and I started to write, and it felt like, this, Holy Spirit or divine power would start to write through me and guide me. I mean, I was just 16 and I never had any spiritual teacher or real traditional practice since then. And it was a really life-changing experience that profoundly changed my life forever. And since then, I have been guided by this divine source from within.
Yeah, and after the second enlightenment with 18, you still didn't have any spiritual guidance, or you met a shaman at this point of time, and she had a message for you. What was that message?
Yeah, first I became really sick when I went back to Germany. I had such a intense sickness that I couldn't move my body for about 6 months, and in that time I really experienced the dying of that what I believed I was until then, of the kind of false self. Like we all believe we are a separated existing somebody that is separated from the rest of the universe, from God, and that's the source of our suffering. When we believe I'm inside and we are separate from the rest of the world, there is naturally fear. And in that time, was 18, I completely was longing to experience our true nature in a stable and limitless way. I was just longing to completely die in the ocean of love that we are. So I invited naturally my deepest fears, because I knew when we face our deepest fears and let die any illusions, then we completely wake up. And that happened in the age of 18. And after I could move my body again after about 6 months, and I could finish my high school, I then met a shaman that, told me that she saw that all of that was kind of destined in my life, that I wake up in a pretty young age to all the wisdom and realizations that I already realized in previous lifetimes. And at that time I thought, oh, this is perhaps kind of esoteric stuff she is telling, and I wasn't interested, She especially focused on my Tibetan lifetimes and said that there's so much profound realizations and teachings that are waiting, that I discover in this lifetime again and share with a lot of beings and help them also to wake up. And at that time, I had never had any, memories of previous lifetimes. So I only continued to focus on that what never changes, our true nature, the formless and non-dual nature that is always here. And I decided then to study psychology, especially transpersonal and integral psychology here in Germany at the University of Oldenburg. That was the only one that really integrated that into the curriculum. And then while studying, I meditated a lot, besides, studying a lot of great psychologies, both from West and East of all times. And in my in-depth meditation, I was naturally then guided back into previous lifetimes. And it was so real, like the dimension we are in right now. It was like like without me doing it, and it was so powerful and profound that I realized, okay, that what this psychic shaman told me a few years earlier was really true, and through these amazing experiences, more and more dimensions opened, and I could experience more the multidimensional universe, and I could also start to download the wisdom from those times, and receive more and more teachings from my soul and from all the dimensions that we have access to.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And while your research work as a scientist at university, you met a lot of masters of certain traditions. How did this come about, and what was so special about it?
Yes, I actually studied while I was at the university. I also studied kind of, all the great non-dual wisdom traditions on Mother Earth. And, especially from Hindu, Indian traditions, Buddhist traditions, Christian, mystic, and Sufi, and so on. And And because my experiences of the Tibetan, lifetimes was so powerful, I decided then that I wanted to do my research, write my thesis on Dzogchen in the West. Dzogchen is the oldest non-dual wisdom traditions of Tibet, and which is so profound. It is thousands of years old, and my interest was both as a scientist to explore it, and at the same time I have also studied with and got to know a lot of Tibetan masters at that time, and since these old Dzogchen lineages also recognized me as a reincarnated Lama in their tradition, I also had access to do this research in a quite close and deep way. Both as a scientist who would explore their traditions coming from the East into the West, and at the same time getting to know the in-depth background of that traditions, and also both what is so precious and that was kept for thousands of years in lineages, and at the same time as some researchers also want to explore what in the depth helps us really to wake up to non-duality, transcultural, like what is working here, what is free of all the limitations and restrictions, because traditions also change over time. Like when these Tibetan masters came here from the East and started to teach in the West, some stayed more traditional and tried to keep their tradition exactly as it is, and some also realized, hey, the Western mind is conditioned in a different way than the Eastern mind. And so they started to get to know, for example, also Western psychology or Western communication skills or means of communication, to see, okay, in what way can we perhaps better communicate so we can serve people to wake up and become free from suffering in a faster and more profound way than us staying perhaps so fixated in our traditional way. And both ways, I think, are fine. It's just a question of what you're here and what is your soul mission, and and I think it's really important to stay true to the essence of any lineages, and at the same time be aware that times are changing, cultures are changing, and to see what is really the most essential that helps us to become free of suffering in a timeless way, and at the same time, what is what kind of fits into the zeitgeist we're living in.
Mm-hmm. What exactly is your soul purpose today, and what is the unique approach in your work with people?
My soul purpose is to help as many beings as possible to wake up to our true nature. Like, I feel in the depth of my soul that it's like an arrow that was already, shot a long time ago. And now I'm here, and I just want to give my best to help people to wake up. The uniqueness is probably that I in one way, I'm so deeply rooted and grounded in many non-dual wisdom traditions, and at the same time, I'm also so deeply grounded and rooted in psychology and science. And having been grown up here in the West, and at the same time being aware of the wisdom, of the timeless wisdom of so many lifetimes, and tools and skills and knowledge and wisdom, I feel like there is a lot I can serve and help beings to become free of suffering and wake up in a deeper and more profound way and liberate our limitations and obstacles and use everything to be even more present and more loving and kind to ourselves and to everyone. And yes, that's in a way a lot of fun, you know, to be a kind of researcher, like exploring deeper and deeper what is really working in the depth of enlightenment or waking up to non-duality, both from the Western scientific point of view or psychological point of view and the spiritual point of view of so many non-dual wisdom traditions.
Mm-hmm. You also founded the Nondual Temple. Can you tell us what this is all about?
Yes, the Nondual Temple is a space where my work is taking place. I also founded the Institute for Psychology and Non-Dual Consciousness Studies, where I more embody the archetype of the researcher and the psychologist and the trainer who's kind of teaching also colleagues, psychologists and professionals. And the Nondual Temple is really the space where I am called to serve, to be a vessel and a transmitter for all of the non-dual lineages that are flowing through me, and serve to the best of my abilities, people, hearts, souls to wake up. And yes, and this non-dual temple is both, it's a space where I meet with you, with people, and it's a space that the whole universe has been created in. It's a metaphor for our true nature, the non-dual temple. And I feel it's kind of like Ken Wilber said, it's like the next hold-on, like we are bringing together science and the non-dual wisdom traditions in the next hold-on, where we meet kind of free of the limitations of our cultures and traditions, and yet we see the preciousness of all of these lineages and sciences, and to see how we can serve to the best of our abilities and serve the awakening of all beings in this zeitgeist, in the time we are living in this age. And so my spectrum of work is quite vast and big. I can, serve and help people in this psychotherapeutic dimension, train people and serve with my non-dual temple work, and so I'm happy that I can help in so many different dimensions, and and help people to be happy.
Mm-hmm. Seems like a lot of people could benefit from your wisdom. What can people exactly expect when they're working with you, and how can they reach you?
People can expect that there's a professional, integral psychologist and mystic waiting in the session as a mirror with a lots of tools and compassion and wisdom and skills to both liberate what we are mostly afraid of, like our deepest shadow sides or vulnerability, and at the same time liberate also our most profound light and all the enlightened qualities that we are. And people can expect also that the work is full of humor and fun and joy, and at the same time it is serious work to liberate our suffering, both, it's playful and serious at the same time. Mm-hmm. But of course at the end I'm probably more playful than serious. It's just, of course, that when you have dedicated your life to serve the awakening of all beings, then of course it's a matter of life and death, and the kind of dedication to be the best you can be. What people can expect is a lot of fun and joy to experience in this work with me, and at the same time coming home and embracing everything that we have been running from and seeing that it all has been a precious jewel. Everything that we have been afraid to run away from, all emotions, they are amazing masters and Buddhas, and God is waiting everywhere for us, no matter where we are looking.
Wow, yeah. Hannes, thank you so much for the love and the light you're bringing into this world. Is there anything else you want to say at the end?
I thank you very much for this beautiful interview, and I send my deepest love and joy and blessings to everyone who's listening. And if you might feel called to contact me, feel free. I'm happy to get to know you and serve you to the best of my abilities. And in truth, we are always resting in the ocean of love, and it's impossible to leave the ocean of love, our true nature, even though we might be dreaming we are having a nightmare. But in truth, everything is well, and we are all coming home, and it's just a matter of, how deep we have suffered and how deep our willingness is to end the suffering and completely wake up to non-duality. And I think it's a very important time we live in, that more and more souls are waking up so we can heal our planet, heal ourselves, and live in deep peace and love and harmony.
That was a great last words. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening. Yes. I can really highly recommend to work with Hannes. Okay.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.